How was your journey like, ma'am, and why education?
The journey has been such that teaching has now not been a profession for me, it's become a passion. The school children give you the satisfaction which is so bright and lighted up in their eyes.
Ma'am, it was a very advanced thing to do. Like, what is your normally thought process? Like, what do you think taking? Because it's a very big risk.
The adventure and the spirit of, search and research is so high that you don't even realize when you started and when you actually succeed. It is just because experimentation, exploration is the best learning.
What do you think is your take on entrepreneurship and innovation?
Yeah, when we talk about innovation, are we giving them skills where they are learning the hands-on activities and they are, making a niche for themselves?
What is your take on role of technology inside the classroom?
The 21st century, that is critical thinking, collaboration and communication, which is automatically happening when you have technology innovation into the classroom.
Welcome everyone, this is your host and those founder and CEO AeroBay, and welcome to the another special episode of the AeroBay podcast. Today I have someone very special with me, Dr. Rina Pathak. She is a principal of one of the biggest group of schools in India, that is Seth M.R. Jaipuria School, Goel Campus in Lucknow. Hailing from Kolkata, Dr. Rina Pathak was born and brought up at Bhradeshwar in Britishers' colony on the banks of River Hooghly. Having her schooling in St. Joseph Convent, Chandanagar, she acquired a great flair in speaking English. She pursued graduation in B.Ed from Sri Shiksha Niketan College affiliated to Kolkata University. Doing a master's in English literature, she did her doctorate in English literature too. I mean, that's brilliant, ma'am. Congratulations. Apart from this, the list goes on, to be honest. She's a published author, and her maiden collection of poetry, I think everybody should go about and read it. It's called Hilore, Gems of My Soul. Ma'am, I did not know that you are a poet, but now I'm more of a big fan of yours now. She also working with CBSE Sahodaya Core Committee member as Assistant Secretary Zone 2 and as a resource person of CBSE COE and Prayog. She has been the city coordinator to CBSE at Gorakhpur and has mentored several schools, being the founder principal to 4 different schools. She has a teaching experience of more than 3 decades and 22 years as a principal. Now you know why Dr. Rina Pathak is my favorite, and it's my honor, ma'am, to have you here on this couch with us. Thank you so much for taking your time out and coming and speaking to us. How are you, ma'am?
I'm fine, Neha. Thank you for that elaborate introduction. I feel that as being associated with you, I have learned a lot, because design thinking is something we are talking about, and yours was the place where I got glued to, because I felt that there was something great for the future of our kids. So thank you to you, Neha, to Ashish and Vaishnav for bringing AeroBay to our school.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And as you clearly mentioned, I still remember the very first day when you had met my co-founder Vaishnav, and the kind of spark he had in his eyes, and he said, because that was the first time we were coming to Lucknow, and he said, we need to go and meet Rina ma'am, and she's such a visionary and she'll understand our program. I could see the way, and the first time when I came here and I saw you, it all justified. So thank you so much for believing in us, ma'am. Ma'am, for the audience who don't know you, I would like to give them a little bit more better insight about your journey, because 22 years, it's a very long time being part of education domain. Especially, I heard your father was one of the biggest, I'm not sure if I'm justifying the word by saying educationist or business leader or philanthropist. So how was your journey like, ma'am, and why education?
Like, it's from the very childhood, when usually children play like ghar ghar. They play, so they're playing with toys and other things. It's from my childhood. I was playing teacher.
Teacher.
And it would be my word games would be my delight. And if I say my role model was my father as well as my brother, who's also an author. And they were the ones who actually encouraged us to speak in English. And at Kolkata, where Bengali was very fluent, then obviously English was fluent because we were taught at St. Joseph's Chandanagar, and the home background was such where my father insisted that we should keep trying the new vocabulary drilling that we are learning at school, even at home.
Right.
So that was the way where it picked up, and the journey has been such that teaching has now not been a profession for me, it's become a passion, because I've mentored so many schools as the CBSE coordinator at Gorakhpur that I realized that each day is an experience.
Right.
My father-in-law was a vice chancellor of Lucknow University, pro-vice chancellor to Gorakhpur University, and he did want me to go into a higher sector in the education, like give the DIOS exams and go for lecturership. But I did go everywhere, but I came back saying, Papa, I don't feel satisfied. The school children give you the satisfaction which is so bright and lighted up in their eyes. So that each day growth that I see in the school children kept me stuck here. And so now it's almost 33 years as a teacher.
Wow.
And 22 years as a principal.
Lovely, lovely. Ma'am, when I hear you, when I listen to you, the way you actually, so much of passion you have related to education, it gives a lot of motivation to youngsters like us to do more better in the world of education, so that we can actually bring a positive change. Ma'am, I see now currently you are working with Jaipuria group of schools, and you were the first one not only in Lucknow but in UP to bring the whole experiential learning ecosystem way before composite skill lab policy became mandatory and those 30 module came in. Ma'am, it was a very advanced thing to do, especially when people don't understand. Like, what is your normally thought process? Like, what do you think? Like, don't you ever get scared that taking, because it's a very big risk to do, and also educating people about something or introducing new. So you got this lab when all people even not aware about this. What was your thought process, ma'am? Why do you think we need this?
Basically, I believe I work best in crisis and in risk management.
Right.
Because when there is a crisis or there is a risk, the adventure and the spirit of search and research is so high that you don't even realize when you started and when you actually succeed.
Yes, yes.
So that was something which I did do in the case of AeroBay also, or any other things which I bring in new into the school's campus. It is just because experimentation, exploration is the best learning.
Exactly.
If we don't explore, we have stunted our growth. And the growth comes only through this exploration.
Right.
So that's what I keep thinking, that what's new and what new can I give the next day.
Right. And for that, you are just bringing amazing thing to school, and I feel your students are really lucky that they have a principal like you. I mean, growing up, we never had an opportunity like this. So adding all of these value to student education is a great step. Ma'am, now because as I just mentioned, the policy is out and those 25 to 30 different skill modules are there, I want to understand your perspective on key update on this NEP and CBSE and the whole policy thing, because I feel some part of my the whole in this situation, some part of the people, they actually understand. Some portion currently they are still very confused. They still are very confused about AI implementation or robotics implementation or STEM or design thinking for that matter. So ma'am, if you could just please give insight.
See, if we want to talk about NEP and the paradigm shift which has happened in education, we would have to tread through the whole education journey or the system in India.
Right.
So since independence, if we see, there has been a thought for social justice, modernization. So those were the things that is why compulsory education was a part of the education system in those days also.
Right.
1947.
1947.
Yeah. Then in 1968 we had the first national education policy, in which obviously there was a stress on the vocalization of the secondary education and the elementary education taking a sweeping sort of increased rise. So in 2009, when the Children Act for Free and Compulsory Education came up,
Yes.
it was for the 6 to 13 years. It was that time that the government realized the quality education and the relevance that education does give to the children at large. So then the next policy which came up in 1976, we also had the concurrent list taking education as a part. So concurrent list means both the state and the central would be involved in making the policies of education and the implementation.
Oh, okay, so that was in 76.
76. Then in 86, the second policy of the NEP came up, and then we had this 2020 NEP policy, which is a game changer, because there's a sudden paradigm shift which is stressing on the flexibility, the experiential learning, the holistic development. It is talking about learner-centric, it's talking about innovation-oriented education. So these things are the new things which have come up and which need to be realized, because the children of today are the future of tomorrow. So if they don't make the steps, take the steps in the correct direction, they would be lost. So it's now rote memorization has taken a back foot, and it's more of conceptual learning, and it is more of learning, assessment for learning than assessment of learning.
Assessment of learning is not happening. That used to be in the past. Now it is assessment
for learning.
For learning, and there is a very huge difference in that.
Yeah.
And how beautifully you have stated, ma'am. So there was this era where need of educating everybody was important, and now I think more or less we've fulfilled that. Everybody is going to doing higher education and all that. Now practical application is important. That skill-based learning.
Yeah.
That how exactly student can be ready for the futuristic job. Ma'am, talking about the role of NEP and CBS and everything, what are your take on entrepreneurship? Because nowadays, okay, people understand, especially Shark Tank India came, and we also went on Shark Tank India season 1. So I remember first time my mother, because before that, even though I was trying to educate her, she was not able to understand. Like when we came back from UK, and then she's like, no, but this is not a job, right?
Yeah.
So after post Shark Tank India, people started understanding bit of entrepreneurship, but still people have this taboo in their mind that entrepreneurship is only you finish school, finish college, finish post-graduation, then maybe you become an entrepreneur. But then there is this inclination toward student having entrepreneurship skill in K-12 level. So what do you think, why it is important? What is your take on entrepreneurship and innovation in student?
Yeah, entrepreneurship and innovation is too much required these days, because it is the way by which we are making them absolutely independent. We say, that's why in the Independence Day also we say, are we still in dependence or are we independent? So there's a vast difference here. When we talk about innovation, are we giving them skills where they are learning the hands-on activities and they are, making a niche for themselves? Or are we actually again giving them those, हमें बैसाखी नहीं देना है, हमें hand holding करना है, finger holding करना है. So this can happen only when those entrepreneurial skills and those innovation techniques are taught to these kids, and it cannot be taught as such. It is something which is imbibed because the environment of learning is such, and it is so easy, student friendly and innovation oriented, that the children automatically grasp it through the mentorship program, the project based learning. Then we have hackathons, we have ways by which they understand about risk management, we have ways by which they understand about how to create jobs than to be job seekers.
Right. So it's more about, so people are actually taking it in a wrong way. They are just thinking entrepreneurial skill means just opening a business, which is not true. It could be, as you mentioned, it's all about project management, acquiring those skills. And in all of these process, if you actually end up coming up with a good idea, so then why not, right?
Yeah.
Right. But ma'am, why parents are still scared, like when a child still goes and say, I want to leave my job and become a full-time entrepreneur? Is it because of financial instability or?
Yeah, because see, the parents have been brought up in an era where their financial security was the utmost important.
Utmost important.
So they don't realize the value, maybe. They do realize, it's not that they don't realize, it's that thing has not actually been created like a system now. But slowly and steadily, all the educated parents are also realizing the fact that first and foremost, IQ is only 20% for a success of any student. 80% of the success comes through EQ and SQ.
Oh, really?
So that's the emotional quotient, the spiritual quotient, the social quotient. Social quotient, emotional quotient comes only through collaboration, communication, critical thinking, and a kind of hand-holding where all children work as a team. So if teamwork is not entrepreneurial skills, I don't think anything else
Than anything
is.
else. Yes, yes. That's a very simplistic way to put it so that people will understand. And actually, ma'am, now if I think about it, very true. If you don't have a EQ portion, then life kind of become difficult. It's not only at job, even at personal level also.
Yeah.
So it does play a very, very important role. Now talking about EQ, and my next question is what every parents, I think now they are waiting to hear an answer from it. So I have a two-part of that particular question. Talking about this new generation, Gen Z, now Gen Alpha, I think something else will also come up, not really very sure. Their mental health. So I understand these people are very efficient in terms of technology. They can use phones better, laptops better, better tools, better AI tools, all of that. But I see a parallel decline in their mental health. Ma'am, what are your thoughts? Why exactly this is happening, and how could school play a very important role in terms of supporting these kids?
Yeah, mental health has been there in the past too also, concern has been there, but its rise has been very much evident after the pandemic. The frustration levels, the anger levels of the kids has definitely increased because they had been closed into the four walls of the homes.
Right.
And with just a mobile or maybe a tab or a laptop. So the exposure was abundant, but the kind of connect was missing. That physical connect that we say, that emotional connect was missing. So what had happened was that they took up a lot of stress. There was too much of cyberbullying also, which they suffered through. So the stress actually worked on their mental health. And mental health directly or indirectly does affect your academic well-being, your physical well-being, your emotional well-being, and all other aspects of your character's growth. So this is a concern which as parents and teachers we need to solve, and this can only happen if the home and school work in unison. Some parents do not want to accept that this is a problem with their child.
They don't, because they think it's some kind of illness. How could you?
They don't feel that a counselor is to be consulted. They don't feel that if we talk about something about a child's maybe a weakness, they feel it is demeaning, the value of the child. Some of them do feel like that, but some are very open. They realize that the school has definitely seen this, chalked it out, and they would love to, hold hands with the school and do something for the success of their children.
Yes.
So this is something which can work only if the parents understand, and they have to understand that the fondest memories are created for tomorrow by the maximum time you give to your child today.
Yes, absolutely. I agree.
The today of the child has to be, because today the child is in a crowd, but he or she is still lonely.
Ma'am, I have seen so many case scenario. I mean, recently it happened. I was traveling, I was in train, and then I see so mother and father and the child was there, everybody, all three of them were on phone.
Yeah.
And then nobody was talking, nothing. And then I think later on father shifted on upper deck and mother was sitting there. And then the child was crying and they were like still on phone. They were like, wait, I'm doing something on phone. So I think all of these things does matter, right? They create a lot of impact on child's health.
Yeah.
That instead of playing in the ground, we are doing video games.
Yeah.
Or we are on YouTube from very
because
young age.
the physical aspect of the child is now very negligible. So obviously mental health comes also with physical health. And if the child, and the thing that I told you, the happiness quotient. So happiness quotient comes when your own identity doesn't see any risk.
Yeah.
Your identity sees a risk, the happiness quotient graph goes
Yes.
on the decline.
Yes.
So today's child needs to be heard. He is a kind of reaching out for support, and the support is to be given by the parents and the school alike.
Right. So let's not ignore when somebody is reaching out to you. Maybe a simple conversation can change somebody's life.
Yeah.
Ma'am, because you are in education domain from such a long time, and of course I know teachers and principal plays a very, very important role in the overall learning of a child. And parents feel it's only school's responsibility to do that. What do you think, how parents can contribute more effectively to child's learning environment? Because it should not be just one end responsibility that I'm sending my child to schools and you just take care of it. So what do you think, should there be any parent involvement, and if there should be, then what kind of role they can play?
See, parent involvement has to be there, because even NEP talks about a child's ability to enhance his or her skills.
Yes.
And they are talking about, reading with comprehension and writing with understanding.
Right.
So, and this in the 6 hours of the school, it's not sufficient. The rest of the time the child is at home. So the parent has to be involved, if not quantity time, then quality time. They can help in the homework, they can help in the reading. We've started a practice in our school. I have a parents library also.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
What is it like?
We call it Adhyan.
Adhyan.
And I realized that because we are in UP, so I realized that I had to keep some more of the bilingual books also. So I did purchase a whole lot of series from the Gita Press. And there are series which are into motivational kind of sermons for parents and other things, where they could if they are reading through them, they do realize some tips which they can also imbibe and apply at their homes. So this is why, because communication with your child is one thing which the parent has to do. And the child doesn't want total support, because today's child realizes that he or she is independent and he or she can fight with the world. So without the child knowing, as a shadow, that parent has to be there.
Right.
Any parent who is giving that quality time, he or she is realizing that the child's happiness quotient is the highest and the child's growth is on a graph which may be very slow, but it is steady.
It is steady.
So if that steady graph and that consistent growth is visible in any child, that child will definitely be successful later in life.
So being patient also with your child, like
Yeah.
there is no, and I think it is applicable for everybody. There's no like overnight thing for anybody, and I see now with increasing competition, parents are putting too much pressure also on their children. Earlier it was all IIT. Now it's more in terms of other things also. So there's a lot of peer pressure,
comparisons are also there.
Right.
So the child feels lost, and in those comparisons maybe you nullify the actual talent in the kid. It's not necessarily every child will be an engineer or a doctor.
Right.
There are other talents and other skills which need to be explored and worked upon.
Right, exactly, ma'am. Ma'am, now because we are touching so many parts in our conversation, let's talk about technology, right? So I see our classrooms are updating a lot. We are having now smart board, from blackboard to smart board, and the already content is already fed inside it. During COVID, we saw teachers doing a lot of online teaching, different ways, so the teacher adapt to it very, very quickly. What is your take on role of technology inside the classroom? And then I want to have a follow-up question on this. So there's a lot of talk about AI, that AI is going to do this, AI is going to do that. Do you think AI is going to replace our teacher? Because if that's the case, it's a very scary thing. What are your thoughts, ma'am?
See, the technology's role is definitely, it is visible, evident, and it is the in thing, and we need to adapt and adopt.
Right.
Because if we stay back, then we are ourselves getting stunted in our growth. And I've given a very different acronym to this inclusion of technology in schools. I call it PACE raided.
PACE raided?
Yes, PACE has been raided. So,
that's
okay.
a very nice
so
one.
And that
Got
PACE
it.
is that P is for the personalized kind of learning that is happening, because we are talking about inclusion also, we are talking about differently abled children, we are talking about all kinds of kids in one classroom. So every child gets a personal, advantage as to seeing and looking onto things.
Right.
A is the access to information, which is superb through this,
which is available
technology.
everywhere.
C is the 3 C's of the 21st century, that is critical thinking, collaboration and communication, which is automatically happening when you have technology innovation into the classroom.
Right.
E is empathy, because you are realizing the value systems of others when you are seeing it across the world, which was not possible when you were turning through the pages. When you see it with your own eyes through audio visual aid, or through the internet, surfing through the internet, or teachers showing you some pictures through teaching aids, the TLMs, if they are using, teachers are using, and you realize that. Then raided is that R is basically for the remote and hybrid learning, which happened during the pandemic,
COVID.
and it has continued till now. Then that A is the assessment and analysis, which has become again assessment for learning.
Assessment for learning.
Not
of learning.
I is the inclusion as well as the innovation. And D is the development of the skills of the teachers, that we are talking about the CPDs, that is the continuous professional development, which is a part of NEP guidelines also, that 50 hours of training
should be given to
for our
teachers.
mentors. 25 hours by CBSE and 25 they can take online, offline, whichever mode that they want, which can be non-CBSE. Then E is again the ethical and the engaged status, which we are giving to the learner as well as the teacher. And the last T is the digital literacy, which is happening because technology has had an influx into the classrooms.
So this is how the PACE raid has
the speed
come
has
into the
become something which is unimaginable, and we never thought, like within a span of maybe less than a week or 15 days, the whole world was online in the schools. And the home and school, did we ever realize that there would be a platform where home and school would be on the same platform? We had the homes watching the teachers teaching. So
that was very scary, ma'am. That was literally very scary. And because it was something which we've never done before, and I say we must salute to our teachers, they with such a great smile, because it's difficult, their parents, I saw so many parents are just standing and they're interrupting in between. No, this is why you're doing it, why are you doing that?
But then the value of the teacher, which had in some way deteriorated in the past, did get a sudden push, because the parents also realized the hard efforts and the kind of sincere bindings these teachers have with their kids, because they realize that these teachers know them by their faces. They realize that there is a definite SWOT analysis the teacher has done before he or she has started the class, how he has to deal with which child in which way. There is some attention crisis, then that child is asked continuously to keep the video on or off.
Actually,
so
ma'am,
those things were there.
Those things helped also, right? And I think although like all of these years teachers were doing a great job, there was some kind of gap which got created between parents and teacher. At least parents got one chance to come one step closer to teacher.
That's why we say it's from high tech to high touch.
High tech to high touch, yes, that's a very good take. Yeah, absolutely, ma'am. So all of these technologies are advancing our classroom students, and obviously parents are seeing those results also. And ma'am, what about the AI portion? People are having this thought that, you know, slowly we, like for example, in jobs, earlier we used to have, but now I have a different opinion on it. So now, like earlier we used to have these creative writers to write a particular curriculum. Now ChatGPT can give you, but obviously it can't replace, for example, you write poetry, right? So that's something which comes from soul and from heart and that creativity. Obviously that level of things not going to happen, but still there is some kind of scarcity factor that it is going to happen. What do you think, ma'am?
Yeah, there would be a scarcity. It's the same as painting just at random, freehand painting or tracing it out. It's the same that way.
Yes.
It's AI. You take help of AI only when and where it is required, because they are definitely, any invention or innovation is a bad taskmaster. They can make you slaves to their kind of levels that they reach. But we have to be very particular on the usage, and if it is a defined usage, then definitely development is happening and it will happen. And it's not the whole world is going to misuse it. The ones who get misguided are the ones who are actually very brainy. The ones even in kids we see, the ones who try to hack some things or do something.
They're very brainy.
They are very brainy. So they make this because they are disoriented some way because of bad company or social media influx, which was very much, too much for them to bear and tolerate and endure. So, but if they are given a directional support, they'll do wonders. They would be scientists and researchers of a level where the world would not imagine. So it's basically concrete, visionary thinking when you are choosing and working with AI.
Yes, absolutely. So it's not just technology is going to be all harmful. It's just if we guide our young minds in a particular way with the right environment, they'll have a good use.
And that is why teachers can never be replaced by
AI.
Exactly. Because the ones, AI will not replace you. The ones knowing AI may do so.
Yes, exactly.
That's the fear you should have. So
we have to keep up with the technology. We should know how to use it.
Yes.
Then only it will come out.
A teacher of an obsolete background, or maybe of a mindset of the traditional way of learning, may be a misfit in the present scenario. But he or she who adapts and adopts will maybe add on to what he or she already had.
Right.
So if this is the same for the students also, this is the same for the other people also who are using AI. Because it's not we don't use ChatGPT, we are using ChatGPT even for speeches and other things.
Everything.
But ditto copy is something which has to
because
be.
ChatGPT can give you the curriculum, but it can't give you your personal stories and your journey throughout your life. I think that something is going to be, there is no doubt in that.
It's the same as the process and procedure. It's a vast difference.
Yes, process and procedure. Exactly. Ma'am, so lovely talking to you. I feel like this conversation should just keep on going on, should go on forever. But before we leave, I would like you to share some message with our viewers. And the viewers, they all are from different age category. The students, the working professionals, parents are very worried about their kids. What is your secret, if you have any, success mantra to life? How you always keep smiling, stay happy? And for those, the people who are still very confused in life, they're not in very happy state for whatever reason, what should they do? What kind of thing they follow or learn or experience which can actually help them understand things better? And if not, I won't say successful because there's no particular definition of successful, but to reach at a good place in their life.
Basically, my success mantra has been, that is something which my father also used to tell, That is, your attitude determines your altitude. So whatever is your attitude, that will be designing your future.
Right.
So are you future ready? Just speak to your heart. If your attitude is future ready, you are also future ready. So basically, these are the success. This is my success mantra. It may not be, success mantra for other people. But here, when we're talking about education, there's a vast difference between being literate and being educated. So my basic message would be that it is just a kind of break from the ignorance and the bondage. You go into light. Accept that light, absorb it, and let it be dissipated in all directions, because you didn't come with anything and you cannot go with everything. You have to leave everything here, and you also achieved everything here. So spread it as much as you can.
Right, that is such a beautiful thought, ma'am. And I really hope that our viewers learned something today, especially a very beautiful definition the way ma'am explained about pace ready, ma'am, if I'm correct. Pace ready. So you can again rewind it in case you missed something, and again relearn it, learn it more. And ma'am, what an honor to have this conversation with you so beautifully. And what I love the most about this conversation, how in such a very simplistic manner you've explained the most complicated thing.
That's why I never went to college or university to teach, because I understand the simple blend here with the kids.
And people struggle with that. I mean, they can tell you the formula very easily, but when it comes like explain it to me like a 5-year-old kid, then it becomes very difficult for people. No ma'am, but you did a great job, and I'm sure my viewers also love this conversation. Thank you so much for coming on this cast.
And it was a sheer delight.
Right, and thank you everyone for listening this episode. If you have any particular question, tag Rina ma'am and ask a question. I'm sure she'll give you the answer. Thank you everyone.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.